I'm from Colombia. My name is Juan Felipe. I've lived in Bogota for more than 10 years now. I'm actually from Medellin, a smaller city within Colombia. And Bogota is a very interesting city. It's almost 8 million people. It's huge for our kind of numbers, not Osama's numbers from India, but for us it's the fourth largest city in Latin America after São Paulo, Mexico, and Lima. More than 5,000 neighborhoods in terms of how it's spread out through the country is pretty big. And it represents 25% of Colombian GDP. It's bigger than Ecuador, it's bigger than Costa Rica, for example. So it's a big city in terms of what it produces economically. We have beautiful people. This is some people from my office. They're gonna hate me for this picture, but they work with me. And we seem to be a trending place. Tinder is in town. So we're really hyped up with all the digital stuff, pretty much connected, everybody's online, whatnot. But everything's not beautiful. We have problems too, as most big cities do. We have a huge mobility problem. You can't move it within Bogota. Everything's a traffic jam all over the time. We have a big underground economy, so everything's pretty much under the table. This guy sells avocados near my house. Everybody has a job outdoors which is not regulated, and they do business by themselves. It's normal in our third world country economies. There are limited sources of incomes. Everybody wants to be a taxi cab driver. It's amazing. There's flourishing taxi cabs all over the city. I think it's the largest city where there are more taxi cab drivers in the world. But specifically for Bogota, we don't have a sense of belonging. I don't feel that people that live in Bogota love their city, and they're not really connected and passionate about their city, right? So I have a background in digital business and media, in the media side. I used to run the business for one of the biggest media companies in Colombia. And with a couple of other partners, we decided to tackle that problem. It's a big problem that we have in Colombia, and if you see all over the region, we have a big problem in terms of our cities don't have information platforms for its citizens, right? Let me explain and let me go further into that. Sure, we do have yellow pages, which is all over the world. Sure, we do have city guides. And sure, we do have the trending stuff for the hipsters. We have Foursquares, not many Yelp is there, but in some cities, Mexico has it, Chile has it. And we also have the single app explosion. There's an app for everything. There's an app for a cab, there's an app for delivery, there's an app for reservation, there's apps all over the place. But these platforms are not intended for all citizens, especially not for the bottom of the pyramid, nor the middle of the pyramid. It's pretty much for people like us, which are in the industry, all the hipsters and all the people that are in the entertainment kind of business. Everybody's using those platforms, but the rest of the city is not connected and is not using information in the terms of digital stuff. So we set out to build that type of platform, a platform that can help the citizens live their city, make decisions on a daily basis, and solve their information needs. And that platform is called CÍVICO. It's a platform that's built for anyone and anywhere in the city. Wherever you live, not in the cool places, not in the shopping malls, but wherever you live in the city, we're crowdsourcing information, and we're aggregating information and delivering it to you. And let me explain how that works. CÍVICO is built in 2 phases. The first phase is a crowdsourcing phase. So whenever we reach to a city in Latin America, we focus on crowdsourcing the biggest and the most broad places database and mapping out the whole city. And we do this by a crowdsourcing approach. We set out to bring in collaborators, young people, 18 to 24, connected to the internet, which have available time, and they want to build their city and connect with their city, especially Bogota, which is a chaotic place. And we set them out through a missions, points, and rewards kind of process, right? So you go into CÍVICO, you log in with your Facebook account or with your email, if you want to, and then you set out to do our missions. Our missions are go by your neighborhood and tell us where you can find vegetables, or where's the nearest coffee shop. Probably for you guys, this is not something new, because you have it in your Yelps, you have it in your Foursquares, but in our cities, you don't have that type of information readily available. There are not data places providers that you can buy the database. So we set out to map the city and to get the people to tell us what's out there through this process. Today, in Bogota, we have more than 6,000 collaborators mapping the whole city from east to west, from north to south, all over the city. And these guys are actively working in building their city. This is a couple of examples. She's an employed housewife that decided to collaborate and build one of the biggest neighborhoods in Bogota, which is called Suba. It's a 1.5 million people neighborhood. And she, every day, goes out to the city, to that neighborhood, and walks the neighborhood and starts indexing the neighborhood. She takes pictures, she uploads information, and all that information comes into CÍVICO. We have a crowdsourcing team in place that validates the data. Either we call the place or we search it if it's online. We validate the data, and if the data is good, we'll give her points. And with those points, she then can redeem benefits, and I'll get to the benefits in just a little while. And this guy is a baker that works at the Hilton Hotel, and he lives outside the city. And every day he makes a big journey, like an hour-long journey in his scooter from outside the city into the Hilton, and then he crowdsources all the data for us in that journey and puts it into CÍVICO. We have 6,000 of those guys working actively in crowdsourcing the database of places for Bogota. This is kind of a breakdown of our crowd. And this is our crowd, which is mainly bottom of the pyramid and half of the middle of the pyramid. Sorry. Whoops. So 6,500 collaborators, mostly female. No wonder. Girls work a lot and like to work. Age, young people from 16 to 35-year-olds, mostly. Income level, 52% of our crowd is medium income. 31% works and studies in Bogota, and 50% is going through college right now. So these guys are finding in CÍVICO a second source of income, and most of them a first source of income. They're unemployed, and they find a way to collaborate with their city, map the city, build the city, and earn some money in the process. This is how we map our crowd in the city. We have real-time platforms that map where the crowd is right now in a specific moment. And these guys are spread out through the whole city. It's not just niches of commercial activity where we're focused. We're focused everywhere in the city. And we like to bring out the crowd and bring them to map out the neighborhoods. How do we get to the crowd? Mostly by social networks. So we're really very active in Facebook. We have over 60,000 followers or fans in Facebook. And we engage with those guys over Facebook and bring them over to CÍVICO. And we use Google as well, right? Our work in terms of crowdsourcing is pretty close with each of the different collaborators we work. We don't treat them as an advertising campaign where we just launch a message, you come in, you engage, and then we'll let you go. We're really on top of you. So our crowdsourcing team calls you up on your cell phone, chats with you on WhatsApp, emails you, we use Zendesk. There's 5, 6 different touch points where we work with the crowd in order to activate them, know what's going on, what they need, what they're doing, and so we permanently engage with those guys as if they were our employees. And that's a philosophy of CÍVICO. Today, we've mapped more than 100,000 places in Bogota, which is the biggest places database in Colombia in terms of volume and deepness of the data. It's like 5 times the yellow pages today in Bogota with the crowd, and this is a 1.5-year period. And this is the mapping of the database. We have the whole city covered. All of the neighborhoods. I'm going to get to that slide in a while. Hope you're not hungry. So this is how we map the city, and we're measuring data real time on where we have opportunities or where we have holes in terms of neighborhoods, in terms of categories of information, and we're crossing that to look for collaborators to upload information and get the whole city mapped out. So this is the nice part, and what we're doing here, this is a Colombian typical dish. This is called a bandeja paisa. It's a big thing, but what we're doing here is that we're giving the collaborators for their work gift cards in all types of categories, be it food, be it technology, be it supermarkets, whatever you want. We have a huge database of gift cards that you can redeem your points that you've worked for us, and we've given around $80,000 to our crowd in the last year for getting that, that big database of places within Bogota. So they're actually being rewarded, and they're coming into CÍVICO to build their city, but they're also getting a reward in terms of benefit, economic benefit, for working for their city. And it's worked really, really well for us. So that's phase one. So we go into a city, we map the whole city, especially the periphery of the city, not the commercial part of it. That's pretty easy to do. But we go up and map the neighborhoods which don't have data in our cities. And then we come with phase two. And phase two is a complete platform of information on the web, on mobile, responsive, apps for iOS, apps for Android, whatnot. And what we do there is that we aggregate, on top of the crowdsourcing, we aggregate, we curate, and we bring in different types of information to give you and to produce a city for you in your hands. What do I mean by that? We integrate multiple categories of information. So the first part is crowdsourcing the places, which is that kind of the big volume of information around the city. But then we bring in news, we bring in events, we bring in weather, we bring in the police, we do deliveries, we do movies, we do public transportation, and we're aggregating a bunch of information for your city. And we're going actually the opposite way of the rest of the industry. The industry is going the single-serving app way, right? So most of you, how many apps do you have for your city in your phones today? I'm sure more than 10 apps, right? One for movies, one for Uber, one for taxi, one for weather, one for whatnot, one for Foursquare, one, there's a bunch. We're going the opposite way, and we're actually trying to deliver one single app to have all the information you need in your city. And we do that initially by crowdsourcing, and then we integrate different third-party content, and we bring in the crowd to the rest of the categories. So we're crowdsourcing today, we're crowdsourcing news, we're crowdsourcing weather, we're crowdsourcing events, and crowdsourcing is pretty much the core of CÍVICO's platform today. When we get all that information into CÍVICO, our algorithm, pretty much what it does is it amasses all that information and it builds a real-time recommendation of your city, wherever you are in the city, based on, obviously, your location and based on your interests. So we're profiling you. We ask you to go through a small profile through CÍVICO, tell us what you like, what you don't like. And the more you use CÍVICO, the more we learn about you, and the more we learn about the people that are using the city, and then we real-time recommend the city for you. The nice part of this is that in 10 months, which CÍVICO has been online, we have more than 700,000 people using CÍVICO. This is our traffic data, our audience. It's a pretty big thing for us. It's a product that's been growing really, really fast, grassroots growing. It's growing by word of mouth. And it's growing especially because we're solving people's information needs. Nobody's doing that in our countries today, especially in Latin America. You can go to Mexico, you can go to Chile, you can go to Argentina. There are little stuff playing around, but nobody's doing this in a massive and integrated way for our cities. Hopefully, we think we're doing it well in CÍVICO. It's a start. We've been online for 10 months, but it's working really, really well for us. We just launched phase 2 in Santiago de Chile, which is our second city that we worked. We have a user base of 4,000 collaborators and already uploaded a database of like 40,000 places, which is like twice the Yellow Pages in only 6 months. So it's getting traction really, really fast. And we're starting to crowdsource Mexico City. And this is the huge, the huge task for us. Mexico City is a 23 million people city. This is huge chaos. Bogota is, I like to say that Mexico is Bogota on steroids. It's huge, massive chaos, a lot of different segmentation with crowds in the city. It's a beast. But we're going to tackle that hopefully in a couple of months. We believe in smart cities. And there's a trend in the industry about smart cities and about technology and how to innovate and how to connect the cities with data points and energy and whatnot. But what we believe in smart cities is that smart cities means that there's information available for all of us, for us to make decisions, for us to move, for us to go to work, for us to have dinner with somebody, for us to have entertainment. We need data and we need information in the city to make it smart. If you don't have data, we're pretty much confined to our own space. But the smart way to build it for us is with its citizens. And not through, actually, we're enabling technology to build it, but the crowd is the one who's building the city. And we're enabling people to build their own cities within CÍVICO. So my invitation to you guys is let's crowdsource our cities. Our world needs it, and especially the third world countries like Colombia and Latin America. Thank you very much.
what are actually people looking for when you say these digital citizens? I mean, one is the upload, what they've been uploading, you've explained this, but what are they looking for? What are they searching? What are they using the site for? Are there categories or
Yeah,
trends?
I mean, in terms of categories of information of places, anything. From a doctor to a dentist to a local grocery to a soccer match to a local soccer field. I mean, there's tons of different search or queries going on in the platform. Most of our traffic today is coming from Google, and that was one of our initial approaches into getting CÍVICO massive. And it's because Google, when it indexes a city, it indexes what's online. And what's online in our cities is pretty much the yellow pages and the local city guides that are focused on entertainment and, let's say, the trending parts of the city. But our task was, and our first approach was, let's crowdsource the whole city. And I'm sure people are searching for that type of data. And once we uploaded the database, we initially launched CÍVICO Phase 2 in Bogota in May last year. And we launched with a 60,000 places database. After, we're almost twice the size a year later, and all the traffic that comes through Google is amazing. Everybody's searching for anything in real time. So we're not competing with Google. We're pretty much using Google to enable the search of the city until CÍVICO takes off as its own brand and its own destination. But everything is being searched for. We're getting very heavily into news. When I talk about news, let me be specific there. I come from the media industry, and we didn't want to replicate a news, hardcore-driven local site. Or we didn't want to get into politics or opinion or major or whatnot. We're most about providing information for the citizens to take decisions on a daily basis on what to do. So there's problems in mobility, there's half a marathon, there's events, there's stuff to do in a neighborhood level that nobody's putting out there on the web or on your mobiles. And we're kind of crowdsourcing and covering that with different types of sources.
It's wonderful what you're doing and a great presentation. I really can appreciate what you're doing. As far as once you crowdsource the original content and you upload everything, how do you maintain that information stays, when it changes? Because I know even like on Google, when an address changes, it takes forever, for something to get updated. How do you go about doing that?
So there's a couple of things we're doing. Initially, we're reaching to the crowd to maintain the database alive. It's a live service, right? So the data perishes pretty quickly. We have a statistic that 75% of the database has been touched in the last 6 months. So it's pretty fresh. We've been live for a year, so with that kind of time frame, it's pretty healthy for us right now. And the second thing is that on phase 2, we start going into the market and bringing in the small mom and pop shops into CÍVICO. And those guys, once we're massive, will be part of the crowdsourcing. They'll be handling their own information. So hopefully they'll do that work for us as well.
I'm going to start a treat and ask you two somewhat unrelated questions. First question is, how much are the gift cards a motivator for the collaborators? Because that only works out to be about just over $13 per person.
Mm-hmm.
And the second question was, are there plans to make money down the road?
To what, sorry?
Make money.
Yeah, sure. So the first question is, we have different type of price ranges within the gift cards. Let me translate from pesos to dollars, but we have starting from $10. Most of the crowd, when they start working with us, they go for the cheapest card. So they go into CÍVICO, do 5, 10 missions. It's not cheap to work in CÍVICO. I mean, you have to really work to get a gift card. It's not like post just a place and then you can redeem a $25 gift card. No, you have to actually go and do some work for us. And most of them go and redeem a card for transportation for our bus transit system called Transmilenio in Bogota. That's a $10 gift card. So that's the initial one. But we have gift cards up to, I'd say, $50. So depending on how much you engage and you're in the system, you go for the big ones. So we've had people redeem. Let's say our top collaborators have made over $6,000 in the last 6 months. Those guys go out there and map their city. They go out there and walk the streets and take pictures and go into the stores and ask questions and put in data into the platform. That's amazing for us. And the second question is, sure, CÍVICO is not a non-for-profit. We do have a business plan behind it. And there's two different sources of revenues. Both are advertising, but we're not into the traditional advertising model. We're not doing display, branding, CPA, CPC. We're working with big brands, integrating them into the content. So today we're working with Coca-Cola, for example. They're a big sponsor of us. And we take categories of information within the city that are connected with their needs. So these guys are really interested in healthy life and healthy living in the city. So we curate and create a whole healthy kind of lifestyle category of information in the city with places, with news, with events, with all of CÍVICO, and we brand it with Coca-Cola, for example. And then we have a different approach with the small commerce, and we give them tools to enable them to sell online or make traffic go to their places.
Great. Juan, Felipe, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Looking forward. I think we're working on having a summit in Bogota.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully. Awesome.
And hopefully you guys can come and visit us in Latin America.